June 24, 1944. For 18 hours. Eastern edge of the Vitebsk defensive ring, 600 meters south of the Lukasa River. The forward trench is already lost. The rear trench is gone. Telephone wire lies cut in 3 places. The platoon has 17 men remaining. They are surrounded on 3 sides by German infantry and armored assault guns firing from a tree line 180 meters away. Artillery has lifted forward, not back. There is no supporting fire scheduled for another 40 minutes. Retreat is impossible. The only withdrawal route, a sunken dirt road running west, is under direct machine gun fire. The river behind them is swollen from 3 days of rain. Water temperature estimated at 9 degrees Celsius. Current too fast for wounded men. Surrender is irrational. German units in this sector have not been taking prisoners since the night before. Death is not assumed. It is scheduled. At 4:19, a flare goes up from the German line. White, signal for advance. At the same moment, Soviet mortar fire lands short, exploding 30 meters in front of the remaining trench, showering it with frozen earth and fragments of pine. The barrage that was meant to clear the enemy has closed the last gap. The men cannot move forward without being hit by their own guns. They cannot move back without being cut down. Ammunition is counted quickly without discussion. 2 DP light machine guns, 1 jammed, 1 with 47 rounds remaining. Rifles, an average of 12 cartridges per man. 1 submachine gun with a half-empty drum. No grenades. The field telephone is dead. The radio was destroyed at 3:52 when a shell collapsed the dugout. Watches are checked. They are no longer synchronized. At 4:20, the first German infantry appear, moving in short rushes, spaced 5 meters apart. Gray shapes against wet grass. Their numbers are immediately wrong. There are too many of them. A conservative estimate puts them at over 100 men from at least 2 companies. They advance without caution. They know the position is isolated. They know there will be no relief. The platoon fires anyway. Short bursts, controlled. The machine gunner fires 6 rounds at a time to avoid another stoppage. The sound is swallowed by the larger battle to the east, where an entire front is collapsing. Here, there will be no record beyond a grid reference and a time. By 4:22, German fire increases. A self-propelled gun opens up from the tree line, firing high-explosive rounds into trench at a range of 200 meters. The first shell kills 2 men instantly. A third bleeds out in less than 30 seconds. The trench walls slump inward. There's no cover left that matters. No one speaks. Orders are given with hand signals that are not always understood. One runner tries to crawl toward the rear and is hit after 4 meters. He does not move again. Another man vomits, not from fear, but from concussion. He wipes his mouth with a muddy sleeve and resumes loading magazines that will not last. At 4:24, the German line pauses. This is worse. It means they are reorganizing. They are close enough now for shouted commands to be heard. The words are not understood, but the tone is. Methodical, unhurried. The outcome is already calculated on their side. Inside the trench, a decision is forming. It is not spoken yet. It does not involve escape. It does not involve holding ground. It involves timing, distance, and the remaining minutes before the German advance resumes. It is a judgment made under exhaustion, noise, and the certainty that no external factor will intervene. At 4:25, the white flare burns out. The tree line goes quiet. The next phase is about to begin. The man making the judgment at 4:25 was born on February 3, 1919, in the village of Novaya Sloboda, Smolensk Oblast. Population before the war, 412. There was 1 school, 1 cooperative store, and no paved roads. His name was Senior Sergeant Ivan Stepanovich Morozov. Before 1941, Morozov worked as a clerk at the district grain depot. His job involved weighing deliveries, recording figures in ledgers, and issuing receipts. The workday began at 7 o'clock and ended at 1800 hours, with a break at midday. The building was unheated in winter. In summer, dust settled on everything. The pay was fixed and unremarkable. He lived with his wife and an infant daughter in a single-room wooden house shared with his parents. There was no electricity. Water was drawn from a well 200 meters away. Morozov had no mechanical training. He did not hunt. He had never fired a weapon before conscription. His health record listed him as average height, average strength, no chronic illness. His most notable attribute was legible handwriting. This is why he was assigned paperwork duties during his first weeks of service. He was called up in October 1939 as part of a routine intake. There was no sense of urgency. Europe was already at war, but it was distant. He reported to the local military commissariat, received a uniform that did not fit, and was transported by rail to a training battalion outside Vyazma. Training emphasized drill, basic marksmanship, and political instruction. Live-fire exercises were limited. Ammunition was rationed even then. When Germany invaded in June 1941, Morozov was still a junior non-commissioned officer in training. His unit was rushed west without full equipment. They marched at night, rested in forests during the day, and received contradictory orders. Within 3 weeks, the battalion ceased to exist as a coherent formation. Survivors were absorbed into other units without paperwork. Morozov's first combat experience occurred on July 16, 1941, near the Dnieper crossing south of Orsha. His company was ordered to hold a road junction against advancing German motorized infantry. They were outnumbered and had no anti-tank weapons. The engagement lasted less than 2 hours. German artillery fired accurately and without pause. When tanks appeared, there was confusion over whether to withdraw or hold. No clear order was given. During that engagement, Morozov watched his immediate superior hesitate. The platoon commander received 2 conflicting instructions within 5 minutes and chose to wait. That delay cost time that could not be recovered. When the withdrawal finally began, it was under direct fire. Men were hit while standing up. Equipment was abandoned. The road became impassable due to wrecked vehicles and dead horses. Morozov survived by chance and proximity. He followed a group of men who ran instead of waiting. They crossed the river by swimming, leaving rifles behind. Of the original platoon, fewer than a third reassembled 2 days later. The platoon commander was missing, presumed killed or captured. After Orsha, Morozov was different in observable ways. He spoke less. He slept lightly. He began counting things. Rounds fired, minutes between shell impacts, distances paced off on marches. When orders were unclear, he asked for repetition. When none came, he acted on his own interpretation rather than waiting. This was noted by superiors as initiative. It was not rewarded or punished. It was simply recorded. By late 1942, after multiple reassignments and steady attrition, Morozov was promoted to senior sergeant. The promotion filled a vacancy. There was no ceremony. His wife and daughter were then living east of Moscow, evacuated. He did not know the address. He did not inquire. By 1943, he had participated in defensive fighting, limited counterattacks, and prolonged retreats. He had learned that survival depended less on orders than on recognizing when orders would no longer arrive. This understanding was not ideological. It was procedural. That understanding is present in the trench at 4:25 on June 24, 1944. Morozov's formal assignment in early 1944 placed him in the 184th Rifle Division, 262nd Rifle Regiment, 3rd Battalion. The division had been rebuilt twice since 1941. Its paper strength was 9,200 men. Actual strength on June 1st, 1944, was 6,100. Replacement drafts were younger. Average age in the rifle companies was 19. The regiment was positioned northeast of Vitebsk as part of the First Baltic Front. The terrain was forested, broken by swamps and shallow rivers. Roads were few. Most movement occurred on foot. Vehicles were reserved for ammunition and wounded. Food was basic: bread, kasha, canned meat when available. Water came from streams treated with chlorine tablets. Training during this period was abbreviated. New men received 10 days of instruction. Emphasis was placed on digging, camouflage, and immediate obedience to fire commands. Live fire was conducted once, with 5 rounds per man. Morozov was assigned as acting platoon sergeant in a rifle platoon that had lost its previous NCO to illness. The role included counting ammunition, assigning watch rotations, and enforcing noise discipline. The platoon's first major engagement under his supervision occurred on March 11, 1944, during a limited reconnaissance in force near the village of Zabory. The objective was to probe German defenses and draw artillery fire. The platoon advanced at dawn under light snow. Visibility was approximately 300 meters. Temperature was -4 degrees Celsius. At 6:40, German machine guns opened fire from concealed positions. The platoon went aground. Communication with company headquarters was delayed due to a damaged field phone line. For 12 minutes, no orders were received. Casualties mounted slowly but steadily. 1 man was hit every 2 to 3 minutes. The wounded could not be evacuated. At 6:55, Morozov ordered withdrawal of 20 meters to a shallow depression without waiting for authorization. The movement was conducted by pairs. 2 men were hit during the maneuver. 1 survived. The other did not. When company headquarters re-established contact at 7:03, Morozov was reprimanded for acting without orders. The reprimand was verbal and brief. The platoon was later cited for maintaining cohesion under fire. The most formative incident occurred 2 months later, on May 2, 1944, during a night action against a German outpost near the Lucasa River, the same sector they now occupy. The mission was to eliminate the outpost quietly and withdraw before dawn. Intelligence estimated the enemy's strength at a reinforced squad. The estimate was incorrect. The platoon crossed the river at 1:10, using a narrow footbridge. The water level was low at that time. Weather was clear. Moonlight was sufficient for silhouettes. At 1:27, they encountered wire that had not been reported. While cutting it, a flare was triggered. German fire followed immediately. What was believed to be a squad was at least a platoon, supported by a light machine gun. The Soviet platoon was pinned in open ground. Attempts to withdraw across the bridge failed. The bridge was destroyed by a mortar round at 1:34. For the next 20 minutes, the platoon lay under fire with no cover and no route back. During this engagement, a wounded soldier began calling out. His position was compromised. German fire intensified around him. Morozov crawled to the man and attempted to drag him back. After moving less than a meter, Morozov assessed the situation and stopped. He released the wounded man and crawled away alone. The man continued calling out until he was killed. The platoon eventually withdrew by swimming across the river upstream. 4 men drowned due to equipment weight and exhaustion. Total casualties were 11 out of 32. No enemy prisoners were taken. The outpost remained operational. After this action, Morozov did not discuss the decision he made. He did not justify it. He did not apologize. In subsequent operations, he avoided unnecessary movement under fire. He enforced silence strictly. He discouraged men from exposing themselves for wounded who could not be reached quickly. These behaviors were noted. Again, they were neither praised nor punished. By June 1944, as preparations for a major offensive intensified, Morozov's platoon was reduced to 24 men. Replacements arrived 3 days before the attack. Names were exchanged once. There was no time for familiarity. Morozov assigned positions based on height and perceived steadiness, not rank. On the evening of June 23rd, they moved into forward positions east of Vitebsk. Artillery preparations began at 2300 hours. The ground shook continuously for over 4 hours. Men slept in short intervals. Watches were checked. Ammunition was distributed. 120 rounds per rifleman. No reserves. At 4 o'clock on June 24th, Morozov received word that German resistance was weakening. The offensive was proceeding according to plan. The information was already outdated. At 4:18, the forward trench was lost. June 24th, 1944. For 25 hours. Eastern edge of the Vitebsk defensive ring. The pause ends without signal. German fire resumes abruptly, concentrated on the remaining trench line. The assault gun shifts position 10 meters to the left to achieve a better angle. Its next round lands directly on the machine gun position. The weapon is buried. The gunner is not recovered. Morozov counts again. 12 men capable of firing. 5 wounded who cannot move without assistance. 1 man in shock, rocking back and forth, repeating a single phrase. Morozov does not correct him. He assigns the nearest rifleman to keep the man low. At 4:26, a runner arrives from the neighboring platoon sector, moving on hands and knees. He brings no written order. He says their position has collapsed completely. German infantry are already 50 meters past it. The battalion command post is no longer responding. The runner asks what to do. Morozov does not answer immediately. He looks at the terrain. The trench line curves slightly north. Beyond it, the ground slopes upward toward a stand of birch trees at 90 meters. The Germans will use that rise as cover for their final rush. Once they reach it, the trench will be enfiladed from the side. Morozov signals the runner to stay low and remain. He does not send him back. There is nowhere to send him. At 4:27, Morozov crawls along the trench, checking faces. He does not speak. He taps shoulders and points to sectors. He takes a submachine gun from a dead man and checks the drum. 23 rounds remain. He hands it to the calmest-looking soldier, a replacement from Tambov whose name he does not remember. German infantry begin moving again, faster now. Spacing tightens. They are confident. Their machine guns advance with them, firing from the hip. Distance closes to 120 meters. Mortar rounds fall behind the trench, cutting off any movement to the rear. The timing is deliberate. At 4:28, Morozov notices something inconsistent. The German left flank is moving too quickly. The unit on that side is outpacing the rest by several meters. Their alignment is poor. They are focused forward, not laterally. There's a shallow depression running diagonally toward them, obscured by grass and smoke. It offers concealment for approximately 20 meters. Morozov measures the distance by eye. From the trench to the start of the depression, 35 meters. From there to the German flank, another 25. He calculates the time required to cross it under fire. Less than 10 seconds if uninterrupted. Ammunition required, minimal. Surprise window, seconds, not minutes. He also calculates losses. At least half will not reach the depression. Those who do may still fail to close the distance. There will be no withdrawal. The wounded cannot be moved. This action will not save the position. It may alter the timing. At 4:29, a shell lands close enough to knock Morozov against the trench wall. His hearing fades briefly. He tastes blood. When it returns, the sound is sharper. He checks his watch. The second hand is bent, but still moving. He signals 3 men. Not the strongest, the most responsive. He points to the depression. He makes a cutting motion across his throat, then points forward. The meaning is understood. No one asks a question. No one volunteers. The others avert their eyes. At 4:30, Morozov orders the remaining men to fire continuously at the center of the German advance. Not aimed fire, noise and volume. He waits until the Germans commit fully, until their attention narrows. At 4:31, he leaves the trench. He runs low, bent at the waist. The first man is hit immediately, falling after 3 steps. The second trips over him, but keeps moving. Morozov reaches a depression and drops into it, rolling to the side. He fires once, twice, without aiming, to keep heads down. The third man reaches a depression and is hit in the leg. He does not scream. He bleeds heavily. They move forward along the depression. German shouts are audible now, closer, confused. One machine gun swings toward them, then stops firing as its crew is engaged by fire from a trench. The coordination is imperfect but sufficient. At 4:32, Morozov emerges from the depression at a distance of less than 10 meters from the German flank. He fires a submachine gun until it clicks empty. He throws himself forward, not at a man, but at the base of the machine gun. The movement is abrupt and unplanned beyond the first second. The next moments are disordered. Short, there is shouting. A grenade detonates. The depression fills with smoke and earth. The German advance stalls. not because it is defeated, but because it is interrupted at the wrong moment. At 4:34, the trench is overrun from the front. The timing has changed. June 24th, 1944, 4:45 hours. Eastern edge of the former Soviet forward line. The engagement is over in 17 minutes. It ends not with withdrawal, but with silence imposed by proximity. German infantry occupy the trench and the ground beyond it. Resistance ceases when there are no organized groups left to resist. German records from the sector later note a delay of approximately 12 minutes in the scheduled advance of the left assault company. The cause is listed as unexpected close-range engagement on flank. No further detail is provided. On the Soviet side, there is no after-action report. The battalion headquarters is destroyed at 4:38 by artillery fire. Surviving personnel retreat east in small groups without coordination. Of the 17 men in Morozov's platoon present at 4:18, 15 are confirmed killed at the position. 2 are wounded and captured. Of the 3 men who followed Morozov into the depression, 1 is killed immediately. 1 dies of blood loss within minutes. And Morozov himself is killed at close range during the grenade detonation. His body is not identified at the time. Ammunition expenditure is later estimated based on empty cartridge. Cases recovered when the area is retaken in July. Approximately 430 rifle rounds. 79 light machine gun rounds. 1 submachine gun drum, partially expended. No grenades recorded on the Soviet side. German casualties in the immediate area number 11 killed and 17 wounded. 1 light machine gun is destroyed. The assault company resumes its advance at 4:46 and reaches its next objective by 5:20, behind schedule but intact. The terrain gained is measured in meters, not kilometers. The trench line changes hands twice over the following 2 weeks. By early July, it no longer exists as a recognizable feature. Shelling reduces it to shallow depressions filled with water and debris. Wooden revetments rot. Bodies are buried hastily or left where they fell. Morozov's name does not appear on any commendation list. He is initially listed as missing in action. In August 1944, his status is changed to killed in action based on unit loss summaries. No description of his actions accompanies the entry. The tactical outcome is limited and precise. The German advance is delayed by minutes. No ground is held. No breakthrough is prevented. The larger operation continues. Vitebsk falls on June 26. German forces in the area are encircled and largely destroyed. The engagement at the trench does not alter the outcome of the offensive. It alters only a timetable, briefly. There is no post-war life for Senior Sergeant Ivan Stepanovich Morozov. The administrative process that follows his death is slow and imprecise. In July 1944, his unit no longer exists in its previous form. Personnel records are reconstructed from fragments. Names are copied by hand from damaged notebooks. Errors are common. Morozov's surname is misspelled in one ledger. His patronymic is omitted in another. In September 1944, a notification is prepared for his family. It is sent to Novaya Sloboda, his place of birth, because no updated address is on file. By then, the village has been partially evacuated due to food shortages. The letter is returned marked, "Recipient not located." His wife and daughter survived the war in evacuation near Gorky. She receives official confirmation of his death in February 1946, nearly 20 months after the event. The document states only that he was killed in action in the Vitebsk region. No date, no circumstances, no grave location. There is no pension beyond a standard allowance for a fallen non-commissioned officer. No citation accompanies the payment. His wife does not appeal. She does not have additional information to provide. The allowance is used for food and clothing. His daughter grows up knowing only that her father did not return. Morozov's name appears once on a regional memorial list compiled in the early 1960s. It is carved into stone with hundreds of others. Rank is not included. Unit is not included. There is no differentiation between those killed in attack, in retreat, or in isolated actions such as the one on June 24, 1944. No personal effects are returned. His uniform and equipment were lost with position. His body was never formally recovered or identified. When the area is cleared after the war, remains are collected and buried in a mass grave several kilometers away. Individual identification is not possible. In official histories of the operation, his actions are not mentioned. The delay recorded in German logs is attributed to terrain and congestion. The Soviet narrative focuses on the encirclement and destruction of enemy forces. Small unit actions are generalized. Individual decisions are subsumed into broader movements. More of the engagement at the eastern edge of the Vitebsk defensive ring lasts less than 20 minutes. It involves fewer than 24 men on one side and a reinforced company on the other. Its effects are measurable only in minutes and casualties. It does not appear on operational maps. The decision made at 4:30 on June 24, 1944, is not exceptional. Similar decisions are made repeatedly across the front, often without witnesses, often without record. They are shaped by prior experience, by incomplete information, and by an understanding of what delay costs and what it does not. In this case, the decision does not save lives. It does not preserve ground. It does not change the outcome of the battle or the campaign. It interrupts a sequence briefly, then disappears into it. The war continues forward, absorbing the interruption without pause. Zov does not become an example. He does not become a caution. He becomes a line item that is eventually absorbed into statistics. The engagement at the eastern edge of the Vitebsk defensive ring lasts less than 20 minutes. It involves fewer than 24 men on one side and a reinforced company on the other. Its effects are measurable only in minutes and casualties. It does not appear on operational maps. The decision made at 4:30 on June 24, 1944, is not exceptional. Similar decisions are made repeatedly across the front, often without witnesses, often without record. They are shaped by prior experience, by incomplete information, and by an understanding of what delay costs and what it does not. In this case, the decision does not save lives. It does not preserve ground. It does not change the outcome of the battle or the campaign. It interrupts a sequence briefly, then disappears into it. The war continues forward, absorbing the interruption without pause.